God bless you. We'll be doing tonight's teaching. It's January the 4th, 2023. Before you start, we'll go ahead and hear from the boss. Father, we thank you for your word, and we thank you that we have your son living inside of us. And we thank you what a privilege it is that we can hear from you, not just through the scriptures. How many generations would have loved just to have the scriptures in their hand, let alone to be able to hear from you through the Holy Spirit. So if anybody would like to speak in tongues, interpret, or prophesy, please do.
I'll speak in tongues and interpret. Bukwiliana eata, satamaya tuno sono ku biati, keana eata, bukwilati, bukwiliana eati, satamayata, ku bidiata eati. Rejoice again, I say rejoice, for in rejoicing you bring homage unto me. You are my sons and daughters, in whom I endowed with great spiritual ability, great power, great awareness. So I capitalize on that, seek it, and put my words into your heart, into your minds. Speak my words, read my word, and exchange my word to other people. They can be set free as you are set free.
Prophecy. Be an example each day you go out. Prepare yourself. Do whatever it is you do before you leave the house to make yourself presentable. You do not know who you are going to run into that day. You do not know who you need to present me to that day. I will put people in your path, and you need to be prepared. You need to know what you need to do to present.
Miracles and barakete shiri yasu sendiano ko barakita fen shishukosan. As the sands in a desert move and shift constantly, continually, but never disappear, as the waters in the ocean ebb and flow, like rivers, like waterfalls, like the stars in the heaven, everything is put there for a purpose. But nothing compares to what's put there for a purpose like you. Each one of you individually needs to know that I have called you to this time and this place, in this century even, yea, even in this century, to do that which I have placed before you. As you study my word, it will help you grow. As you study my word, it will make you stronger. And as you get stronger, you'll be able to fight against the wily darts of the wicked one and produce strength for others.
Amen. Tonight we're going to do a teaching, ages. It's going to be ages and time periods of Jacob and Isaac and Joseph, and kind of deciphering some things because they're not clearly laid out, and you're not going to be able to see it. Dad did a teaching and showed when they said, "Come down, you man of Elohim." Who was he? Elijah, the first prophet, not Elisha. And Elisha says, "If I'm a man of Elohim, let fire come down." Remember that? Mm-hmm. Well, we did not know, as if you read the scriptures, we did not know that there was somebody else there. Who was the other person that was there? Elisha. Never knew that. Dad deciphered that through the text. Yahweh didn't hide it. You had to look for it. So I'm going to unveil some things that I'd never seen before. And some ages and some things. I never knew these things. And so times and ages. I'm going to give you some handouts. Please don't look at it because just kind of hold on to them. So if somebody would hand these out for me. That will... Wouldn't look at them until we get there. So everybody will need one of these. And then one of these. And while she's doing that, if we turn to Genesis chapter 27. So Joseph is Yowceph, or close to that. Yawcob is really Yawcob or Yawcob. So I'll try to get closer to the actual translation of our forefathers' names. And kind of like Dad's teaching, you would, through the scripture, if you just read it, was it First Kings? I think it's First Kings or Second Kings. You have no idea Elisha's there. He says Yahweh's just going, Who knew that? It's also like Dad deciphered the Gospel of John. Wait a minute. Wait, what's going on here? But here in Genesis chapter 27, verse 4. Let's see. Let me get there. It's not verse 4. It's going to be 41. Excuse me.
It's going to be what?
41. Would somebody read that?
And Esau lay in wait for Jacob on account of the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near.
How soon?
Draw near.
In this context, what is Isaac's condition? Esau just said he's getting ready to die. And then I'm going to kill my brother. What else do we know about Isaac? He can't see. He's already blind. And Esau, who's very close to him, he's about ready to die. Okay? Yawcob flees. And we'll come back to these times. Okay? These timeline, these little deciphers. Yahweh put clues here and here, and they actually start putting them together. Holy moly, they all fit! How long is Yawcob away before he comes back and sees his brother Esau?
7, it's 14 plus 6.
20.
Oh, that's 20 years.
It's 20 years. And the scripture will actually say these 20 years, and we'll go to that in a second. 20 years later, we just started, Isaac's about to die. And he's blind. He's not in good shape. He's going to give the blessings because this is it. This is it. Louise. 20 years later, go to chapter 32. And I've listened to the audio Bible. I've read through, I don't know how many times I've read through the scriptures, but it's been a lot. And 20 years later, if you read through, just read right above chapter 32. Would somebody read the context for me out loud?
And Jacob prepares to meet Esau, his arrangements, prayer, and wrestling.
Yawcob is 20, okay, he's getting ready to go to possible war, right? Last time I saw him, his dad's about ready to die. I got to get out of town. Now he's going to come back to go to war. Okay, we all know what happens, right? Read right above chapter 33. What's that say?
Jacob and Esau reconcile.
Jacob and Esau reconcile. Fantastic. Do you know whose name is not mentioned anywhere in there? Isaac. Did I lead you too much? Isaac's not anywhere in there. Do you know Isaac's alive in this? He's blind. Who's taking care of him? What happens? You wouldn't know. I didn't necessarily know this. I could have if I was actually looking for it. Then go to chapter 34. What happens with chapter 34? Jacob is back in the territory he's supposed to be, and then his daughter gets raped by Shechem, and then his sons go to war with Shechem. Two of them are really wicked, and they murder a whole tribe. Jacob's about ready to go. We're going to die. What are we going to do? And he goes back to Bethel. Remember, Bethel is where he first sees Jacob's ladder fleeing from Esau. And then when he returns 20 years later, he's back at Bethel. Okay? Now he's in this land, and they're getting ready to get wiped out again. But where does he go? Back to Bethel. And Yahweh puts a dread on the people because they were going to get wiped out. But Yahweh put some sort of fear, and nobody touched them. Guess who's alive? Isaac.
Isaac's still alive?
Where's Isaac? I don't see him anywhere. You won't. And then go on to verse 35.
Chapter 35?
So they kind of, all this stuff is going on, had no idea the patriarch is still alive. Now go over to verse 27, and he's not really the teaching, but I'm going to go to some other stuff. But the verse 27, and Jacob, then came Jacob and Isaac his father to Mamre, the city Arba, the same as Hebron, where had sojourned Abraham and Isaac. Wait a minute. Why didn't he go right to his dad in the first place? Where's Rebekah? What's going on here? I don't know. And the days of Isaac came to be 180 years. You're going to hold on to that number because the teaching is not about Isaac. And the days of Isaac came to be 180 years. and Isaac breathed his last and died. What chapter is that?
35.
35. Go to 37. All the way to 37. Verse 33 and 33 and 34. Somebody read that.
So he examined it and said, the tunic of my son...
That's right.
The tunic of my son, a cruel beast hath devoured him, torn in pieces is Yowceph. And Yawcob rent his garments and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned over his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to console him. But he refused to be consoled and said, surely I will go down unto my son mourning to Sheol. And his father wept for him.
What chapter is this? 37. When did Isaac die?
34.
Chapter 35.
It's 35. Guess who's still alive?
Isaac?
Isaac.
Oh.
Do you know who's still alive when Joseph is taken? Isaac. Isaac is alive 12. He is alive until Joseph had been gone 12 years. How? Okay. Hope I got your attention. Other things. How old was Jacob when he fled Esau? Just guess.
40.
40.
I'll say
When
43.
he first goes to Bethel, sees the stairway to Yahweh of Elohim, he's 71 years old. Do you know how old he is when he meets Rachel? He's 71. Wait a minute. All these paintings in my head, these movies and these things I've seen. Wait a minute, how old's Rachel? She's a virgin. Ah! He's 71 and a 20-year-old. How old's Laban? I don't know. But if she's a virgin and she's 20, he might have been 40. Could it have been that the father-in-law of Jacob was possibly 40, Jacob 71? Then we're going to look at some numbers here, and I'll have to back these things up. You're going to go, he was 71 years old. You're going to go, not just that. No, we'll we'll walk through the scriptures. Do you know how old he is when he finally marries Rachel?
90s.
Yeah, 7 years later.
7 years later, he's 77. He's 77 years old.
78.
Yeah, 78. Okay, yeah, 70. I got the numbers here. He doesn't have his name changed until he's 91. When he goes back to Bethel, and Yahweh said, I've changed your name to Prince of El. He's 91 years old. And so, now, if you look at this, not necessarily the handwritten timeline, we'll look at the handwritten timeline at the end.
Look at the handwritten timeline.
No, the other one.
Yeah, if you help her out, Kevin.
This one.
Okay.
And then, for the sake of time, we'll just, instead of going through the scriptures, we can just read through this. And then we can validate some things too. Chapter and verse. Where are you getting these things? How old is Jacob and the rest of this stuff, right? Because it does not say he's 71 years old. And you read it, you have no idea how old he is. Ages of Isaac is the beginning. Would somebody read that? It's all Genesis.
Isaac is 40 when he married Rebekah.
Yeah, okay. Isaac is 40 when he married Rebekah. Would somebody read the verse that's quoted underneath?
And it came to pass that Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, of the Plain of Syria, sister of Laban the Syrian, to himself to wife.
Okay, so these numbers are, okay. Isaac is 60 years old when Yawcob is born, okay? So, okay. So then all these numbers are going to come into play.
25, 26. And after that came forth his brother, and his hand fast holded the heel of Esau, so they call his name Yawcob. Now Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them.
Okay, there's a hint there. Next clue, Isaac lives to be 180 years old. That's not a clue, we just read that. He's 180 years old. Why is that so important? Because how old was Isaac when Jacob was born?
40.
60.
Or 60, yeah.
So when he dies at 180, how old is Yawcob when his dad dies?
60.
120.
He's 120.
Yeah.
80 minus 60. That's all right. So, okay, there's a big hint. So Yahweh just put a hint here. How old is he? He's 120 years old. Okay. Ages of Yawcob. Now, which is interesting, I put little notes underneath it. Bethel and Yawcob's ladder, the covenant with Yahweh. He was 71 years old when he does his own covenant. Okay. 28 verse 18, and the dream, the stairway, all the rest of that. He's 71 years old. Now, that's the conclusion of this. Okay, the first thing is, first time with Yawcob, he served Laban 20 years. Did somebody read 31, 38, please?
This 20 years' time have I been with thee, thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the ram of the flock have I not eaten.
Okay, 20 years. The first 7 of the 20 years, he was a single man. 13 years, he was a married man. How many kids did he have?
12.
12 kids in 13 years. Yawcob was a busy guy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of babies. You're like, man, a newborn every year. Okay, but he has 12 years, 29. Okay, then you'll see that 29, 18. So Yawcob loved Rachel, and he said, I'll serve thee for 7 years. Verse 27, fulfill this week this one, then must we give thee the other one also for a service wherewith thou shalt serve with me yet 7 years more. And then let me see here. And then the next one is this should really be on the next page. Another glimpse of his age. You really can't decipher Yawcob's age until you read Joseph. Without Joseph, you have no idea. You're in the dark. But he's 130 years old when he reunites with Yowceph and Pharaoh. How do we know that? Genesis 47:9. Would somebody read that?
And Yawcob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my sojournings have been 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, neither have they attained unto the age of the years of the lives of my fathers in the days of the sojourning.
And say, well, we know that his dad lived to be 180, Abraham, I think, 175. Okay, it's a reference. But we have a hint. How old is he? He is 130 when he reunites with his son Joseph. Now, Jacob is... let me see here. Okay, the next reference at Yawcob is 147 when he goes to sleep. So 17 years with Joseph. Oh yeah, I just put it. So he's with his son, reunited for 17 years. Would somebody read 47:28?
And Yawcob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So it came to pass at the days of Yawcob, the years of his life were 147 years.
It's 147. Now his ages are going to start being unraveled. The ages of Yowceph. He was 17 years old when he brought in the talk or the bad report about his brothers. We don't know how soon he was sold into slavery, but it just maybe he's right around 17. It's not really that important. But he's about 17 then, and that's really not relevant with where we're going. 37:2, it says he was about 17. And do you know who's alive right now? Isaac. You know, 7212359. It's my girlfriend from 6th grade. He was alive the first when he's 17 years old and he's taken. His grandfather Isaac is alive for another 12 years. Do you think did he had any meeting with his father? Scriptures are silent. I don't know, but I would think that the patriarch honor his father would possibly have met Joseph. Wouldn't you think so? Remember when the famines are going on, everybody's dying. Guess who's alive? Isaac. What? Yeah. I better be able to back that up. Now, okay, but now this is when things start coming together. Joseph or Yowceph was 30 years old when he sat at the right hand of Pharaoh. Would somebody read the chapter 41 through 46?
Now, Yowceph was 30 years old when he took his station before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So Yowceph went forth from before Pharaoh and passed along through all the land of Egypt.
Okay, and then we don't have to necessarily read the next one, but we do know this one's common knowledge. There's going to the dream is 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. That's 41:53. Why is that important? Because Yowceph is 39 years old when he reunites with his father. How do we get that? He sat on a throne at 70, plus 7 years of plenty, he's 37. He's in the second year of the famine. He's 39 years old. So, Mom, would you read 45 and 6?
For these 2 years hath the famine been in the midst of the land, and yet 5 years are there in which there shall be neither plowing nor harvest.
And so, okay, so now, so how old was Yawcob how old is Yawcob when Joseph was 39? If Yawcob's 130 years old when they're reunited, Joseph, here that is. Let me see here. How old was Yawcob when Joseph was born? Well, if he's 30 years old when they reunite and he's 39, what's 130 minus 39? He's 91 years old. And when he was born, he's right around the same age. When was he born? And without this mathematics, look down. 130 years old when he met Pharaoh. Joseph is 39 years old. You got 30 plus 7 plus 2. You have this. And this also tells a whole story about when Joseph was actually born, too. Because 12 kids in 13 years, it looks like Joseph was born right at the end. And it appears that he was probably a toddler when he really small. Then we go back.
He was a child of his old age.
Yeah. 91 years old. The 91. Now we got. Now you see how we got 91. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I got 91. How long did he serve Laban?
20
years. How old was he when he met Rachel?
71.
71. How old was he when he fled from his father? He was 71. He was 71 years old, year to go. So when he went to Bethel the first time, he's 71 years old. And his covenant with Yahweh that's recorded in Scripture, it wasn't until he's 71 years old. Wow. And he's 78 when he finally gets to marry Rachel. In 91 years old. And you have this. And then, wait a minute. Isaac, during the famine, everybody's dying. What happened to this aged guy that was supposed to die 40 years ago? We know he lives to be 180 years old. We'll come back to these timelines. I had to draw it out. So I'll kind of walk through some of these things. I was afraid I was going to miss a bunch of this. Let's see here. Somebody could just read my notes for me.
Isaac was around 151 years.
Where are you? It should be under how long did Jacob serve Laban?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, 20 years first, 7 as a bachelor, married 13 years after Laban.
Laban.
If he was 91 when Joseph was born, and if Joseph was born in the 20th year of serving Laban, how old would Jacob have been when he met Rachel and fled from Esau? Around 70 years old when he met Rachel, when he saw Jacob's ladder at Bethel, if Jacob's about 71 when he met Rachel, how old is Isaac at the time? Isaac is 60 years older than Jacob. See, 2, so that means he's 91. If Isaac is 131 years old when Jacob met Rachel, if Joseph was born in the 20th year of the service in Laban, how old was Isaac when Joseph was born? Isaac was around 151 years old when Joseph was born.
Remember, he's going to live to be 180.
Yeah.
And Joseph, when was Joseph taken? Right around 17. Okay.
How old was Joseph when he was brought in to talk about his brothers around the time he was sold? Around 17 years old when he was sold. How old would Isaac have been? 168. Isaac was alive when Joseph was sold. He had 12 more years until he goes to sleep.
And I would have never known.
Yeah.
You're going to go, and then what's the story with Isaac? Where was he? My whole thing was Esau could have been taking care of him. Esau's wicked. But it does say in 35, Jacob went to go see his father. I'm like, wait a minute, now you go see your dad? Really? What happened? I don't know. We don't know. Let me see here. Yeah, if somebody keeps reading, otherwise I'm going to miss something.
Although Isaac's death is recorded in Genesis 35, he is alive 12 years after Joseph is 17, around the time Joseph is sold into slavery. It was around the 13th year in Egypt, Joseph is exalted. Isaac was alive when Yawcob mourned the loss of Jacob. Although Abraham's age of death is recorded, he is
Jacob
alive.
mourned the loss of Jacob. What?
Joseph, yes.
Oh,
that's
okay.
a typo.
He is alive in 25:26 when Yawcob is born, and for the 15 years of Yawcob's life. I'm not sure what you meant by that.
Well, yeah, there's another one that actually, with these timelines, you can find out how long Abraham was alive, getting to meet. One of the things that I thought about when I pulling these things apart was that Isaac could have been there when Jacob was mourning the loss of Joseph. If that was the case, can you imagine? He's just 60 years older than him, and here's you just lost Joseph. You're going to go, dang, man. I never thought about Isaac possibly. We don't know if he's there. We don't know where he is. But there's a chance that Isaac was there. And then when he sold off, and hear the rest of this going on. Isaac's a patriarch. He's a prophet. Mm-hmm. Jacob's a prophet. An interesting thing that Dad brought up too, that when this is something different. When Joseph is running the kingdom, Yahweh could have told, hey, he's alive. He's okay. He didn't. So sometimes we're going through some necessary misery. You can handle it. But what about their reunion? With their reunion, there's another 17 years. Could it have been that Yahweh needed Yawcob to live another 17 years? And that by being reunited at that age, revigorated something? I don't know. We don't know. But when Dad brought that up, because every once in a while you're going through some sort of misery, you're going to go, it's nothing like what Jacob had to do with his son. Joseph is gone. And hey, an angel could have just said, hey, relax. He's doing good. He can't write, but just trust me. We'll keep you updated. It'll be about 15, 20 years, all right? Nothing. But there you just, and then here's a timeline. And so that the timeline is a reference point with the scriptures. Hopefully, how I laid it out, you can look at it. But I did two different timelines up here with Isaac, and then you just get to see how Isaac is going to live to be 180 years old, which is neat also, because how old was Abraham when he had Isaac? He was 100 years old. What I wanted to do is I was going to incorporate Abraham, and here's Abraham meeting possibly Jacob. I believe that Jacob would have known Abraham too, because their lines overlap. And so I knew that because of E.W. Bolger's timeline. But here's the dates. But here's with Isaac. He goes to sleep 180. He's married at 40. Has a son at 60. They go down here to Yawcob. Here's his times, which is really backwards. Yahweh really concealed it. But he's 147 when he goes to sleep. And then I put these other numbers in here. I went from right to left. But, he's 130 when he's reunited. You really got to go right to left with him. And you can subtract that he was 108 when Joseph was sold. Okay? We know he was 17, right around 17. 91 when he was born. He got to 20 years. And I never thought he was a 72-year-old bachelor working for his hottie, for his wife. Then you got Yowceph's ages, 17. You can see where Isaac's life would have overlapped. Joseph's in Egypt. And then I put a second one of Isaac to put the rest of these things in there, because otherwise it would have been too crowded. But you see that here's Joseph and all the rest of the stuff. But here's this hidden story of Isaac I never even knew existed.
Yeah.
I said earlier in the teaching, I went off target. I said him through the famine. No, the famine hadn't started yet. But it was still during the same time. The guy's alive. Would have never known. It's the glory of Yahweh or Elohim to conceal a man. It's the glory of Melech's kings to search it out. And so, interesting things. What else?
I think it's interesting down here. Moshe is 80 when called to deliver Israel.
Oh, yeah, those are the times. Yeah, so go ahead.
And then Yawcob got married. He wasn't married till he was 71.
So
and 91 when his name is changed to Israel.
Yeah, it brings a whole other image of when his hip goes out of socket and he's wrestling with the angel and wrestling with Ellen. How old is this cat? He's 91 years
He
old.
needed a hip replacement.
But not just that, because I did another teaching. One of these things, it says that he was perfect.
Yeah.
Other translations are going to say he's plain, or he's like a pretty boy is what they'll go, but it's not the word. The word's perfect. And it's in strength and in beauty too. And that's when he's 71. And when he's 91, he's fighting an angel or a messenger or something. How old is he? He's a 91-year-old guy. A whole other picture. When he rolls a stone away for Rachel, how old is he? He's 71. And he goes, but it's like a whole other stories never even knew existed.
Yeah. Wow.
Father, we thank you for your word, and we thank you that you are willing to teach us if we humble ourselves. And we thank you for sharing with us everything you've done, and for these words. Know, my children, that I have more treasures than you could ever imagine, and this life is going to be gone so quick. And I really, really, really want to spend more time with you in my scriptures together, because if you could put us first, everything else will work. And I know how badly you desire to have other things work. So please put me first, and I'll fix the rest of the stuff.
Hallelujah.
Amen.